Partnerships Powering Bharat, Driving AI-Led Industry Transformation, a series brought to you by ETCIO in association with IBM. Today, as industries are being reshaped by AI and automation, the real competitive advantage lies not just in technology but in the ecosystem behind it. Partnerships Powering Bharat series showcases how IBM is helping Indian enterprises drive AI-led transformation through the collective strength of partnerships built on co-innovation, co-creation and co-delivery and aligned to the vision of Viksit Bharat. Each episode features a powerful transformation story that showcases how collaboration fuels innovation, drives growth, and creates lasting impact for business and society alike. In this first episode, we spotlight one such story, the transformation journey of the Wave Group, one of India's most diversified conglomerates with over 6 decades of operations spanning real estate, manufacturing, food and beverages, education, agriculture, and entertainment. Now, despite operating on best-in-class technology systems and applications, it faced a familiar challenge. Data was fragmented, workflows disconnected, and decision-making slowed at every level. Today, we explore Wave Group's journey from a fragmented enterprise to a fully orchestrated AI-driven organization built on IBM's technology, supported by its partner Gadiel Technologies. Joining me to unpack this journey are SK Vaid, Senior VP IT at the Wave Group, Siddhesh Naik, Director, Growth Markets Technology Sales, IBM India and South Asia. Welcome, Mr. Vaid and Siddhesh. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, you had deployed some of the best-in-class technology systems and platforms, yet the decision-making was lagging. So, what was the reason? How did this, fragmented intelligence impact your day-to-day operations? Like, for instance, delayed in decision-making, disconnect, etc. And what was fundamentally broken?
See, actually, when we talk about different platforms, so like we have ERP system, we have CRM systems, we have other project systems as well as other platforms. So, what the main challenge is that they are all working in silos because their data is only with them. So, we cannot communicate with the other platforms and we cannot get that data from, we cannot have a joint data from combined both the platforms. So that was the biggest challenge that we were facing. So just going on adding another platform into it was not a feasible thing that we thought of. So that was the biggest challenge that we were facing.
Right. So, Siddhesh, from what Mr. Naik spoke about, I think this is a challenge which is not isolated to the Wave Group. It is something which is perhaps common across many organizations. So, what happens when disparate systems don't talk to each other?
So, in fact, before I come to the question, I just want to compliment Mr. Vaid. The Wave Group is truly a microcosm of how India operates, right from dealing with the farmers to the urban population to the manufacturing prowess. I think he truly brings all of them together, the true progressive India that's talking about bringing farmers, the urban population and the manufacturing prowess. I think a classic example of how you're bringing all three of them together. Now, when you talk about disparate systems, the fundamental problem that you face is ability to have a cohesive intelligence based on which you can take decisions, and that becomes your biggest impediment in really extracting any value out of anything that you're doing. And that is what a lot of enterprises are straddled with. People are going in for a lot of wow factor pilots, but those pilots are isolated pilots which show some wow factor with respect to a particular piece. Now, for most organizations, they have invested in a ton of automation. They've invested in large applications like SAP, Salesforce, ServiceNow. There is workflow or SAP SuccessFactors. A ton of applications that are in there. There is a lot of automation that has been invested for over the decades. Now, having an AI layer or an agentic layer that operates in isolation means nothing. You are not able to extract value out of what you've done. You're not going to do away with the investments you've made over the decades. So how do I have an AI layer or an agentic layer that integrates with what you put already in place over the last few decades? How do I integrate with the workflows that we've built in? How do I integrate with the rules elements that you've built in? You have a lot of these large applications with an embedded logic. SAP has a ton of embedded logic that goes in. Same is true with ServiceNow. How do I have an AI layer that really talks to each of these layers seamlessly, like almost like it's a unified layer that talks not just to the new agents that you're building, but across the existing automation that you've created over the years, and it lets you really extract productivity out of what you've already built. So I think that is where the real problem lies. A discrete piece can only help you create pilots, but will not let you scale to production.
So, talking about the challenges that the Wave Group was facing, how did you address those through the architectural approach that you adopted, and where do the IBM technologies fit in?
So if you look at the whole paradigm over the last few years, building AI or building agents is the simplest part. Enterprises are building hundreds and thousands of agents. Practically every new agent or a couple of agents getting built every day. Building agents is easy. Deploying them at scale is the most difficult part. Most of these agents operate in different applications, in different environments, all fragmented across your enterprise landscape. Now, for you to really extract value out of it, you have to break the fragmentation. You have to create a unified layer that lets these agents talk to each other, have a contextual understanding of what the other element does within the whole architectural domain, and be able to take advantage of that. And that is exactly the approach we took with a unified platform that gives you the ability not just to have a mother orchestration layer within the agents with an MCP or an A2A, with a context-aware ability to have orchestration within the agents. But that's not enough. Everybody keeps talking about that. But what's even more critical is the ability to talk with the automation and the tooling that the enterprise has built over the years. So how does it talk with an SAP that's in there with its logic inbuilt that runs a ton of operations within the enterprise? How do I start integrating the new AI aspects along with it? Now, integrating it alone with SAP is not good enough, because if there is an issue that crops up, how do I raise a ticket, which is again coordinated with a ServiceNow? So how does that trigger a ServiceNow ticket? So on and so forth. There are multiple things that need to be integrated. When you talk about something like HR, how do I evolve Agentic to manage the entire piece from hire to retire? Now, the complexity in Wave is even higher, because now they're looking at industries which are right from the rural aspect to the urban building to a manufacturing setup, and very diverse, plus the education piece. So the complexity conundrum there is fairly high. So how do I start creating a unified layer that helps me cut these silos and help these discrete silos talk to each other? I think that is the approach which really helped us crack this conundrum.
So, Mr. Vaid, before we come to the approach that IBM and their partner recommended, usually what happens is the organizations look at adding another technology layer, which further complicates the whole system. So, at what point did you come to the decision that adding just another technology layer is not really the answer, and that you will need to fundamentally rethink how technology, data, systems, and decision making come together? So, can you tell us about how did this approach come to your mind?
See, we are using very good platforms for our organization. The main issue is that going on adding platforms into your system is not feasible, because it is going to increase your human effort. So what we wanted actually was a platform which can bridge the gap between what the management is asking for and what the platforms that are giving us. So what we wanted, the main challenge was that we had a legacy systems, we had this new systems, new platforms in place, and we wanted a unified platform to extract all the data from all those multiple applications and platforms. So the biggest thing that we have to look into was that it should communicate with us so that all the decisions can be taken in a prompt way, so that all the disconnects can be handled, and all the discrepancies in the data. That, see, the legacy system might not be capturing the things that we are capturing in our latest platforms. So those bridges has things to be bridged. So that's why we were looking for this new platform, so we can handle all these things.
So, Siddhesh, Mr. Vaid spoke about what caused this shift. Now, coming back to the technology aspect, what does an API first governed architecture really unlock that traditional architecture cannot? And in that context, if you can tell us more about Watsonx and the role it played.
So Mr. Vaid actually very beautifully articulated the real value that he expects out of a platform like this, right? They've invested in a ton of best-in-class applications already. Now, what needs to come in from the AI layer is what he already does not have. It is not about reinventing the wheel, but it is about how do I add value to what we've already invested in, and that's, he very beautifully articulated that. So, if you build on what Mr. Vaid said, the whole aspect is how do I have a layer that's a unified layer that helps me talk these applications to talk to each other. You do not want AI which is a siloed AI on an SAP layer or on a ServiceNow layer or on a Salesforce layer, but you want an AI that cuts across these best-in-class applications. Your ability to have work done like an individual would have done. And I'll give you an example, right? For example, Wave Group wants to create PR requisitions. Now, how do I use Agentic AI to create PR requisitions on SAP? And how can I get a quote, have an agent figure that out, do the whole entity extraction, ability to create a PR requisition, and then even have an RFP if required, the way it could be the entire end-to-end SAP business process. Now, there is a problem in that that comes in. How do I have an auto ticket raised on ServiceNow that gets that problem addressed? So you're not just doing something on one isolated instance, but your ability to cut it across the whole set of applications that have been invested in for a certain purpose, right? And as he beautifully put it, I want to achieve what I'm not able to achieve with these best-in-class applications. What is that layer that can take me to the next level? Not about reinventing the wheel, but taking it to the next level. So I think that is the critical aspect. The second aspect that's very, very critical of moving from pilot or a wow factor to scale or production is the whole aspect of agentic governance. How do I trust all the AI or AI governance? How do I trust all the AI that has been put in place? How do I have all elements of guardrails put in so that it doesn't go astray, it does what it's intended to do? And how do I have an audit trail that tracks that whole piece, right? Now, in the today's agentic era, what we're talking about is how do I first figure out what all agents the enterprise is using. Every application comes with its own embedded agent. So first is discover them, catalog them. Then the next step comes in is how do I now do a complete audit tracing or traceability of what an agent does. We even need to put in guardrails to ensure that this agent is doing only what it's intended to do. It can go only talk to these set of toolings or these set of automations. And you put in the right guardrails so that it doesn't misbehave come what may. So how do I put a complete AI governance in place so that the AI that you put in is trusted by your organization, the larger consumers of the organization as well. So that becomes a very, very critical aspect.
So let's talk about the real world business impact, because that's the most critical aspect of any technology implementation. So you've implemented several use cases. There is Watsonx, which is raising IT help desk tickets natively. Then you are streamlining contract and legal data. So can you tell us about how all these different use cases help improve the day-to-day efficiency of the teams? How did it help accelerate the decision making, and any other business impacts that you would like to add to it?
So definitely these types of workflows, automations that we have done in using this AI, it is like earlier all the things were manual. So removing that manual intervention and the human in loop. So what we brought in was this Watsonx layer, which can identify the type of issues that a customer is raising, or some of the users are facing. So what they do is they raise the ticket. So the ticket has to be analyzed. It has to be closed in a particular stat that we have defined, and it has to be addressed to. So if that particular ticket is not addressed, it should be escalated to a senior management, so that senior has to be informed that this has not been closed for these many days, or why this issue is being pending for so many days. So for doing all these things, it was earlier everything was meant was on human logics, human intervention. So what we designed was that all the tickets that were raised were analyzed by the Watson, and it was taking a decision on behalf of one of our agents. One of our agents is taking a decision that why this ticket is pending, who has not taken care of his job, why he has not addressed to that issue, and why it is not completed on time. If another answer to that particular thing or any reply from that particular person is not there, that is why this issue is pending, maybe some material is pending or some procurement has to be done. So those things have to be there in the system so that the decisions can be made better. And while talking about this contracting thing, like contract and legal things, like there are a bunch of contracts. That contracts are of say 3,000 pages, 4,000 pages, and you have to go through each line by line every contract so that you can come to a conclusion that this contract is correct or not. So using this AI, Watsonx, what we came to, what we brought in the system was, the AI was analyzing that particular document, summarizing it, giving us a gist of it, what and all acts are being used into this, and where it is going to affect our interests, or where it is not in our interest, or whether it is good for the organization or it is not good for the organizations. So getting to that particular point, Watsonx was playing a very good role in that.
Touching upon the use cases that Mr. Vaid spoke about, Siddhesh, can you let's say talk about these use cases at a general level for other organizations, as a blueprint for other organizations? So how do these different domain specific agents, how do they help not just generate insights but also orchestrate workflows effectively?
So Shipra, let me take a step back. When you look at any organization, right, there are different types of automation elements that exist. So for last many decades, there is a fixed workflow element that has been there. Take for example the insurance industry, right from a lead to a policy issuance, almost 85-90% of the policies issued are on a straight through processing. So this is a combination of a workflow and an extremely powerful rules engine. This is what you call as a fixed workflow. You have a element which is the second element which came in about 3.5 years back, which is your Gen AI powered automation and AI that came in. Now there you have a deterministic element, which is an NLP command tells you want to go update your leave into SuccessFactor. It will go update your leave, and that is a task oriented deterministic task that you're giving the AI. The third element that has evolved over the last 4-5 quarters is what you call as Agentic AI. Now, these are a set of agents which are built on top of these foundation models or LLMs. They plan certain things, they execute on that thing, and they refer back as a reflection on how well have they executed to the objective. So the difference that is coming in is the earlier one was task oriented. This is becoming an objective oriented. Now this could be one agent, it could be multiple agents. Now let me give you examples of how enterprises are actually consuming this. Enterprises are consuming this in a way. So let's take a large conglomerate like Wave Group and many others who have a shared service procurement platform where there are hundreds of thousands of invoices that get generated on a daily basis, and there are vendors who upload it, and multiple vendors who are in there. They upload it on a portal, and now you've got to do a validation between the invoice and the PO. And that could, in practical terms today, the way these conglomerates run it is a huge army of people who manually do it line item by line item. Now, how can I have an agentic model that does this for you? Your ability to do the image enhancement and entity extraction. One of the first challenges you face is all of these invoices are low resolution images because they are mobile images. Typically, any of these OCR engines, that whether they work on the cloud or whether they work on these RPA engines, anything below a 250, 300 DPI, your accuracy comes crashing down. Now, Agentic and GenAI has helped you solve this. So, how do I do an image enhancement, entity extraction, key it into systems of record? Now, I'm going to do a compare between the invoice and the PO at a line item level, at an SKU by SKU level. Is the total invoice value matching to the PO value? We then did a third thing on a three-way match. There's a physical invert that's going to happen in the organization. How am I now matching to what has physically got inverted? Does it match to the PO? Does it match to the... So, these are examples of how this whole piece is evolving. We do this for another very, very large NBFC that does EMIs for a lot of these consumer goods. Now, these are handwritten pro forma invoices that get captured at a scale which is unprecedented. We are talking of a couple of crores of these documents that getting captured, it getting into your systems of record. You now want to link it back to your loan management system. You want the collection agents to query it in the local language. So, this is a NBFC that operates across 8 states. So, in Telangana, they want the collection agent to query in Telugu and get a response in Telugu and be able to address this. Similarly, yet another organization where we've created a voice bot that helps the MSME to file their GST returns. So, how are you guiding it step by step? And it is a conversational bot. It is conversing with the individual on the other side and guides you on every step that is required in filing your GST. So, multiple such examples. And yet another example where we've done this with an automobile giant on engineering homologation. So, the R&D divisions of these engineering giants have multiple of these 3D drawings, 2D drawings, which then get converted into a bill of material that goes into building a prototype. Now, by the time the prototype is built, there are 2 more, 3 more variations or version upgrades that keep happening. How do I have a system that can read this, translate it into BOQ and have a complete automation system that goes to the ancillary unit before the prototype gets built, so that you don't waste a lot of money and effort in building prototypes which are not relevant because you've done a version change. So, these are just a few examples. There are many, many more. I can go on and on how this is getting adopted. Small things, but which are very, very impactful.
So, undoubtedly, the potential is immense, but what we see that a lot of organizations are experimenting with AI, but only a few are really able to translate it into business impact. So, what are some of those foundational elements, for instance, data, platform, operating model? What is it that truly leads to large long-term impact rather than just isolated success?
So, Shipra, if you would ask me, and if I were to lay broadly the top 4 elements which is holding enterprises from moving from pilots or a wow factor to scale, wow factor to a production, is 4 things. The first element is that understanding right on day one that I am dealing in a hybrid environment. There are some things that will be on-premise, there are some things which will be on a particular cloud or multiple public clouds. How do I design an architecture that deals with this hybrid environment? I think that becomes the starting point. People pick up AI in some of the hyperscalers. All of their data is sitting on-premise, and then they struggle with the egress, ingress charges on moving all the data to the cloud, and how do I deal with it becomes a big challenge. So, starting your architecture, keeping your hybrid architecture in mind becomes a critical step. The next aspect that comes in is the understanding that your use case, your models will keep evolving. You are in a multi-model, multi-modal world. This will keep evolving every quarter. There will be a new challenge that comes in. There may be a new model that comes in. There is something new coming in this AI world every week, maybe even every day. So, how do I embrace the new and at the same time keep addressing and improvising on what I'm doing becomes a critical aspect. So, the fact that the environment and the architecture is going to be multimodal, multi-model, how do I have a platform that addresses that? The third aspect, which is absolutely critical, is the aspect around AI governance, and we briefly touched upon it.
So, Mr. Vaid, looking into the future, in the next phase, you're looking at comprehensive workflow automation. So, how does this look at in terms of optimizing the workflow and bringing about business impact?
Our future vision is having a workflow automation. Now, that cannot be achieved by like individual bots. So, what we have to do is we have multiple agents with us, and there should be a communication method between all these agents. So like I will give you an example of it. Like we have a agent which communicates with the customers. Okay, so he takes issues and interacts with the customer, discuss with them what is the requirement that they are expecting from us. So after discussing it, one has to analyze it. One has to analyze how this my agent was communicating with the customer. Whether how was the sentiment analysis, whether the sentiment of the customer, sentiment of the agent, or the GRE that is working on my CRM. So getting to that particular data, then when we are getting a particular issue from the customer, or when we are getting some that we have to give a feedback on that particular thing, so my agent is forwarding it to some other agent. That say my customer asks for a duplicate copy of the receipt, or ask for resending of that particular receipt. So there should not be a human in loop for that, because that can be done through an agent, because that receipt has already been generated in the system, but it is in some other platform. So this agent will communicate with the agent who is having that platform access, get that particular receipt, communicate with the customer, send it to that customer, period. So this is how that we are looking for a complete workflow automation. So this is one of the examples that we are looking at. Same is the case with the procure to pay. So we are procuring from the different suppliers. So they are sending invoices. They are all in different formats. What we need is, we need to have a good communication with the supplier, so that they put in all the keywords that we need to for that agent to communicate with my platforms. So like the PO number, the date, the material item number. So these things are which need to be communicated with that required for the communication to the different platforms. So when I get that, I can directly generate my service request. I can directly generate my service entry sheet for like which is called a GRN also in my system. So generating that, and it is directly sending it to the finance. So that means no human is required in between. So the complete thing is automated, and it reduces your time also.
Great. So I think that's a great, well laid out roadmap that you have in mind for the Wave Group. So Siddhesh, as we wrap up this conversation, I want to bring about this key belief that IBM has, which is that for AI to really create value, it needs to be integrated with automation. So can you tell us how AI-led automation can help enterprises move beyond simple efficiency gains to more strategic business-driven outcomes?
See, the whole agentic piece is taking the complexity conundrum to absolutely the next level. So many agents getting created, the whole complexity, so many applications getting created. IDC is talking about 1 billion plus applications that will get created over the next few years. Now the whole complexity of managing these applications is becoming very, very high. How do I now have AI is again, or agentic is again coming to your rescue on how do I have agentic powered automation? Right from how do I have something that provisions my infra on the cloud or on premise in an automated fashion, to something that monitors it for me in application performance management with application performance SLAs, latency SLAs on application performance is business. So how well is it performing is a critical element. So how do I monitor it on a day-to-day basis? How do I bring in elements of AI-powered RCA if something goes wrong? What is the root cause for it? Can I even have an AI-powered remediation? We've just started attempting this with a few clients in a beta stage, where you have a YAML playbook where the RCA recommended changes are deployed on a UAT environment to see if that works. And of course, there is a human in the loop, but how do I automate even the remediation part of it, right? How do I bring in, as you start consuming more and more cloud, how do I bring in the whole FinOps story that keeps your cloud costs down? One thing that keeps CIOs awake is the whole cloud bills that hit you. How do I keep your cloud costs contained is becomes another important aspect. The next aspect, which is very, very critical, is security. Now, how do I have AI helping security? How do I have an agentic real-time threat remediation platform that comes in? From an access perspective, again, the access piece is evolving a lot. Till the recent times, it was only about access. Now it is about access plus governance. It is not just about human identities, it is also about machine identities. You've got to keep in check, is an agent trying to log in into my system, and how do I prevent him from logging? So the whole piece is becoming a AI powered automation that is helping you automate the way you run your business and monitor the way you run your business. And this is just the beginning. There is a lot more that will evolve over the coming quarters. And as I said, the future is now.
And Siddhesh for taking us through the Wave Group's transformation journey and what Partnerships Powering Bharat looks like in action. So as you saw, the Wave Group's journey is a testament to how the right technology architecture approach, when combined with ecosystem enablement by IBM, helps turn fragmented systems into a truly intelligent enterprise. Stay tuned for part 2 of this episode, wherein we will talk about the evolving partnership ecosystem and the shift towards ecosystem-driven transformation. Thank you so much for watching.